said, you know, 70 is 70. She said, Judy, 70 is the new 50, and it's just a number. And I remember that.
Yeah.
And the people that I know who are older and spirited look like they were having a good time.
She was once the sharpest voice on daytime television, the judge who didn't need a robe to command respect. With her piercing glare, razor-edged remarks, and a courtroom presence that could silence anyone, Judge Judy Sheindlin became an icon. For over 2 decades, she ruled daytime TV, turning legal disputes into entertainment and herself into a household name. But today, fans who stumble across recent images of her are left speechless. The transformation is dramatic, the change almost unsettling, and many can't believe this is the same woman who once stood at the height of television power. What happened to Judge Judy? And why are so many saying her appearance now will shock you to your core? Before the world knew her as Judge Judy, Judith Sheindlin was simply a sharp-minded woman with an unmatched work ethic and a passion for justice. Born in Brooklyn, New York in 1942, Judy grew up in a working-class Jewish family that valued discipline, honesty, and resilience. These early lessons shaped the iron will she later became famous for. From an early age, she carried herself with a sense of determination that set her apart from her peers. Judy's academic path was impressive. She attended American University in Washington, D.C., before earning her law degree from New York Law School in 1965. At a time when women were vastly underrepresented in the legal field, Judy not only entered the profession but demanded respect from the very beginning. Her no-nonsense style, her unwillingness to back down, and her sharp intellect quickly caught the attention of her colleagues. By the 1970s, Judy was working as a prosecutor in the New York family court system. There, she developed her trademark style, direct, efficient, and utterly fearless. She dealt with emotionally charged cases involving abuse, neglect, and broken families, and her reputation grew as someone who was both tough and fair. She didn't waste time with excuses, and she wasn't afraid to call out dishonesty when she saw it. This blend of toughness and compassion made her stand out in a field dominated by men who often underestimated her. In 1982, New York Mayor Ed Koch appointed her as a criminal court judge. Within a few short years, Judy had been promoted to supervising judge of Manhattan's family court. This role gave her even more influence, and she became known for her efficient case management and fiery personality. Lawyers feared being unprepared in her courtroom because Judy had no patience for wasted time. To her, justice wasn't about theatrics, it was about clarity, fairness, and efficiency. Her courtroom persona caught the attention of a Los Angeles Times reporter in the early 1990s. A profile of her tough style gained national traction, and soon after, 60 Minutes featured her in a segment that made her a household name. Television executives took notice. Producers saw in Judy something electric, an unfiltered, commanding personality that could captivate viewers. In 1996, the show Judge Judy premiered. From its very first episode, audiences were hooked. Here was a real judge, not an actor, presiding over small claims disputes with the same authority she had in family court. Judy's personality became the heart of the show. Her quick wit, biting sarcasm, and refusal to entertain nonsense made every episode a spectacle. Viewers loved her honesty, even when it was brutally delivered. As the years went by, Judge Judy grew into a television juggernaut. At its peak, the show attracted more than 10 million viewers daily, outpacing nearly every other daytime program. Judy herself became one of the highest-paid personalities on television, with annual earnings that eventually reached $47 million per year. She wasn't just a TV star, she was a phenomenon. Her image was consistent: the black robe, the lace collar, the tight bun, and the steely gaze that could cut through any lie. This brand became instantly recognizable. To millions, she wasn't just a judge. She was a symbol of authority, someone who embodied common sense in a world that often seemed devoid of it. But this rise to fame came with a hidden cost. Judy was no longer just a respected judge, she was a celebrity. With the fame came scrutiny. Every word, every appearance, every wrinkle was noticed. For over 25 years, she maintained her ironclad persona on screen, never revealing weakness, never breaking the image. Yet behind the cameras, time was marching forward. And as the years added up, the woman once hailed as timeless began to face the inevitable reality of aging. Fame often looks glamorous from the outside, but for Judge Judy, the relentless spotlight came with pressures that were far heavier than the glittering paycheck suggested. By the time her courtroom show hit its stride in the late 1990s and early 2000s, she was not just another TV personality, she was the queen of daytime television. The problem was, being queen meant she never had a moment to step away from the throne. Judy's work schedule was grueling. While it appeared on television as if she was in court 5 days a week, the reality was that taping was done in marathon sessions. Cases were filmed in bulk, often back-to-back, in order to create content for months of programming. This pace required enormous stamina, and though Judy was known for her sharpness, such a routine was physically and mentally draining. Every sarcastic remark, every ruling, and every reaction had to be performed at full intensity because millions were watching. The rewards, of course, were immense. By 2005, Judge Judy was the #1 daytime show in America, pulling in over 9 million viewers a day. In 2012, Judy was earning an eye-popping $47 million per year, making her the highest-paid personality on television. Over the years, her net worth ballooned to more than $440 million. Her fortune bought luxury homes in Los Angeles, Naples, and Connecticut, private jets, and vacations that most people could only dream about. But wealth, as Judy herself once remarked, doesn't stop the march of time. In interviews, she admitted that maintaining such a commanding presence required effort, an effort that became harder as she aged. The sharp bob haircut she later adopted replaced her classic bun, a choice that fans quickly noticed. Rumors began swirling. Had she undergone cosmetic surgery? Was she using fillers or other treatments? Judy, ever defiant, rarely addressed the speculation, brushing it off with the same dismissive tone she used on her show. Still, the pressure to appear strong and unchanging clearly weighed on her. The other price of fame was privacy, or rather, the lack of it. Wherever she went, she was Judge Judy, the woman who had built an empire on blunt honesty. Fans approached her in restaurants, airports, and hotels, asking her to settle their personal disputes or to deliver her signature line, "Don't pee on my leg and tell me it's raining." The persona that had made her famous became a mask she could never remove. Even in her personal life, and then there were the critics. With great success came scrutiny. Some accused her of being too harsh, of humiliating litigants for entertainment. Others claimed the show was more about ratings than justice. While Judy defended her courtroom as real and unscripted, the whispers of TV theatrics never completely disappeared. Living under constant judgment, ironically, became her own trial. Meanwhile, the physical strain of aging became harder to ignore. Long filming days, endless travel, and the emotional intensity of presiding over conflicts took a visible toll. By the late 2010s, fans began commenting on how tired she looked, how different her face seemed, how her once formidable presence appeared softer. While some attributed it to natural aging, others speculated about health issues. Judy herself insisted she was fine, but the gap between the image people remembered and the woman they now saw was widening. In 2021, Judy shocked fans by announcing the end of her show after 25 years on the air. She made it clear that she wasn't retiring entirely. Her new project, Judy Justice, launched soon after on Amazon's IMDb TV. Yet, the move marked the end of an era. Viewers realized that the Judge Judy they had grown up with, the unshakable figure of the 1990s and 2000s, was gone. What remained was someone different, still sharp, still fiery but visibly older, more fragile, and unmistakably changed. The truth was undeniable. Judy's decades of fame had built her an empire, but they had also magnified the effects of aging. Every wrinkle, every change in her appearance became a headline. And while most people age in private, Judy's transformation played out under the world's gaze. To fans, the contrast between the woman they remembered and the one they now saw was jarring, so much so that many described her new look as shocking. even terrifying. But as dramatic as the changes seemed, they were only part of the story. Because behind the whispers, the rumors, and the criticisms lay the most human reality of all, the passage of time. And in Judy's case, time had left a mark that even her commanding personality couldn't completely disguise. When recent photographs of Judge Judy began circulating online, the reactions were immediate and intense. For decades, audiences were used to seeing her in her courtroom uniform, black robe, lace collar, hair tightly pulled back, and a face that radiated authority. But the Judy fans saw in those new images looked dramatically different. The once familiar presence that commanded millions on television seemed almost unrecognizable. To some, it was shocking. To others, it was a stark reminder of how even the strongest personalities cannot escape the passage of time. The most striking change was, of course, her physical appearance. Judy had always carried herself with a straight posture, a fierce expression, and sharp energy. But in her most recent public outings, her frame appeared thinner, her shoulders slightly sloped, and her face bore the unmistakable signs of aging. Wrinkles deepened around her mouth and eyes, her jawline softened, and her once fiery gaze seemed less piercing, replaced with something more tired, more fragile. Fans who remembered the woman who could silence a courtroom with a single glance struggled to reconcile this new image with the old one. What made these changes even more dramatic was Judy's long-standing reputation for looking timeless. For years, she seemed to defy age. Her hair remained perfectly styled, her face vibrant, her energy unrelenting. She filmed season after season of Judge Judy without slowing down, creating the illusion that she was untouched by the years. But illusions, no matter how strong, eventually break. When the signs of aging did finally become visible, they seemed to appear all at once, magnifying the shock. Rumors about cosmetic procedures only fueled the conversation. Some speculated she had undergone facelifts or fillers in an attempt to maintain her sharp appearance. Others argued the opposite, that she had finally stopped seeking such treatments, which explained the sudden change in her looks. Judy herself dismissed the chatter, insisting that her appearance was simply the result of getting older. Yet the speculation persisted, because for many fans, the transformation felt too drastic to be ignored. Social media amplified these reactions. Photos of Judy at events or candid snapshots spread quickly across platforms, with headlines declaring how different or unrecognizable she looked. Comments ranged from supportive, praising her for aging gracefully, to cruel, mocking her changes or calling them terrifying. It was the downside of celebrity culture. The same audience that once celebrated her strength now dissected her appearance with relentless judgment. Part of the shock also came from contrast. In reruns of Judge Judy, audiences still see her in her prime, fierce, energetic, and commanding. Then, within minutes, they might stumble across a recent interview or image of her looking older and frailer. The side-by-side comparison exaggerates the difference, making it feel as if decades of aging happened overnight. For longtime viewers, it's not just Judy who has aged, it's themselves, their memories, their childhoods. The terrifying feeling, in many ways, comes from being confronted with their own passage of time through the image of someone they grew up watching. Still, beneath the surface of public reaction lies an undeniable truth. Judy's transformation is not unusual. It is natural, inevitable, and universal. But because she built her career on a persona of unshakable toughness, the visible signs of aging seem more striking. To see Judge Judy softer, more vulnerable, is to see the mask slip on a woman who once seemed untouchable. And yet, even in this transformation, there remains a spark of the old Judy. In interviews, her voice still carries its familiar sharpness. Her humor is intact, her opinions as bold as ever. Her words may emerge from a face marked by time, but the spirit behind them remains unmistakably hers. For every fan shocked by how she looks now, there are others who argue that her changes only make her more human, more relatable. The truth is that Judge Judy's transformation, though described as terrifying by some, is also deeply symbolic. It's the reminder that time spares no one, not even the woman who ruled television with an iron gavel. For years, she was larger than life, a figure of unshakable authority. Now, stripped of the illusion of permanence, she reflects the vulnerability of all human beings. Her appearance may no longer match the powerful image fans once knew, but her legacy remains untouched. And as the world adjusts to seeing a different version of Judge Judy, the question becomes, will people remember her for how she looks now, or for the impact she left behind? Judge Judy's story is not simply about a woman who aged in front of the world's cameras. It is about a trailblazer who redefined what daytime television could be. Yes, her appearance today shocks some fans, but when the discussion moves beyond surface-level judgments, what remains is a legacy few can match. Her influence on television, law, and even popular culture is undeniable, and that is where her true story lives. Throughout her career, Judy Sheindlin transformed the courtroom genre into something magnetic. Before her, televised court shows were small productions with limited followings. She turned the format into a juggernaut, one that attracted millions of viewers daily. For over 2 decades, she wasn't just another TV personality, she was daytime television. Generations of families grew up watching her cases, learning her sharp one-liners by heart, and admiring the way she cut through excuses to get to the truth. Even now, in her later years, she continues to shape the industry. Her new program, Judy Justice, may not have the same cultural dominance as Judge Judy, but it proves that she is far from finished. She remains passionate about her work, and her desire to bring justice, whether in a real courtroom or on screen, hasn't faded. For Judy, slowing down isn't an option. She once said that retirement would bore her to death, and her persistence in working well into her 80s is proof of her unbreakable spirit. But what of the transformation that so many call terrifying? Perhaps it should be seen differently. Aging is something no one can control, and in many ways, Judy's current appearance is a badge of her decades of hard work. Every wrinkle, every softened feature tells the story of a life lived at full speed, of years spent under hot lights and constant scrutiny. Unlike many celebrities, Judy has not hidden away, nor has she desperately tried to reinvent herself into someone younger. She has faced the world as she is, still working, still speaking her mind, and still unafraid to be herself. Her personal life, too, remains a cornerstone of her strength. Judy has been married to Jerry Sheindlin, a fellow judge, for decades. Proof that even with fame and fortune, she values stability and loyalty. Their partnership has weathered the storms of celebrity, and together they share children, grandchildren, and a close-knit family. Away from the cameras, Judy is not the scowling judge we see on television, but a grandmother who cherishes her time with loved ones. This side of her is rarely shown, but it is just as important to her legacy as her TV career. What comes next for Judge Judy is not about television ratings or appearance. It is about cementing her place in history. She has already done what few others have: built a television empire, changed the way the public views courtroom justice, and become one of the wealthiest women in entertainment. Even if her current look shocks some fans, it does not erase the fact that she reigned supreme for decades and left behind a blueprint for success that others can only dream of following. The so-called terrifying transformation may dominate headlines now, but years from today, people will remember Judge Judy not for how she looked in her 80s, but for the way she spoke truth to millions. They will remember her razor-sharp comebacks, her refusal to tolerate lies, and the sense of common-sense justice she brought into their living rooms. Her impact will live on in reruns, in the countless memes and quotes that still circulate online, and in the influence she had on the entire genre of courtroom entertainment. In the end, Judge Judy's story is not about fear or shock, it is about resilience. She dared to enter a male-dominated legal field, conquered it, then went on to dominate television in a way no one expected. Her appearance may have changed, but her power, her voice, and her influence remain. So when people ask, what does Judge Judy look like now? The answer is simple. She looks like a survivor. She looks like a woman who lived unapologetically, who worked harder than anyone else in her field, and who built a legacy that will endure long after appearances are forgotten. That is the truth, And if Judge Judy herself were here, she'd likely say, "Case closed."